What if you weren't broken, right? Today, I really want to talk about an underlying belief that many of us hold that is not put there from us. It is really a societal and cultural hangover, right? It is something a lot of us have learned and it becomes reinforced through a lot of the actions that we take, right? Most people think they need to be fixed, right? They think that something about them is broken that needs to be fixed, right? But this idea of needing to fix something reinforces the idea that it's broken, right? Similarly, the idea that we need to avoid stress, or when I try to avoid stress, it reinforces the idea that stress is bad, right? So the action that we take, right, can unknowingly reinforce a belief that we hold, right? If I'm trying to fix myself, it is because I am broken. Now, when we step back from that slightly and understand how important the energy of our intention, like how we're showing up, the state that we're in, like the impact that that has on outcomes is so overlooked, right? What you do is less important than the state you're in while you're doing it, right? Someone that exercises from self-hate is very different in terms of the outcomes in their body from someone who exercises from self-love. And I'm exercising because I hate the way I look versus I'm exercising because I love the way it makes me feel. Both are exercise. The biological response is fundamentally different. So we've all bought into this idea that we're broken, right? And that we need a supplement, a protocol, a tool, support externally, right? To fix this issue. And today, what I want to present is that thing may very well be keeping you stuck, and how a shift in our perspective or the lens that we're looking through without changing any of our behaviors can have a pretty profound impact, right? So let's kind of dive into this. The dominant health narrative says, right, there is something wrong with you. Your pain, your anxiety, your fatigue, your issues, your stress, like, are signs that something is wrong. We have medicalized and pathologized human biology to a crazy degree, right? Everything is a symptom of dysfunction rather than a prompt from the body, right? We can look at many symptoms in different ways, right? Pain is a great example. Pain can be a sign that something is broken, right? There's damage, or it can be a sign that I'm trying to protect myself. Pain is a very, very effective protective mechanism, right? Anxiety can be a sign that I am broken, I have anxiety, I'm dysfunctional, or it can be a prompt from my nervous system saying we need to change our course of action, right? A prompt for us to make some changes at the level of the nervous system. But the medical conventional system is kind of pathologized those things, right? Those symptoms are a sign of dysfunction, and let me sell you the solution, right? Because you are broken, here are the things that can be used to fix you. Now, what I want to present is the alternative. Health, growth, progress, evolution, transformation, these things are written into biology, right? Our body is always going towards health and vitality. This may be hard for some people to understand because they're struggling with dysfunction, but a lot of the dysfunction that we face today is due to the environment that we've engineered, right? Food that's not food, light that's not light, right? Artificial or blue light at the wrong times of day, right? Sedentary lifestyle rather than movement, a chronic, overwhelming, unrelenting amount of stress due to technology and social standards and comparison, and all of the cultural influence, right? All of that drives us to express these sets of symptoms, right? Some may be fatigued or anxious or can't sleep or my digestive issues, right? We take these symptoms and we create this pathology and say, you're broken and here's how you fix it. Instead of, right? Let me use a metaphor here. There is this flow, right? A flow towards health, a flow towards vitality. We see this all in nature, right? A tree grows. It does not need to fix itself. It does not need to improve itself, right? Growth is its nature, right? If you just don't let anything get in the way of that, it will grow. Health is our nature, right? And so removing this idea that I'm broken and need to be fixed, and applying this idea that my body is going towards health, right? But there may be constraints, things in the way, right? Health becomes more about what do we need to remove that is impacting the system than what do we need to fix that is broken, right? there are these laws that govern the body. The body adapts, the body compensates, the body conserves energy and becomes more efficient where it can, right? All these laws, right? Once we understand them, we see that the body is always doing its best to arrive at this destination that is health and vitality, right? It is this process that's happening. And so what I want to present to you today is this idea of reframing, okay? Take a look at a lot of the actions and behaviors you're engaging in that may be well-intentioned, right? I'm trying to fix my problem. And instead see if we can approach this as, is this supporting the natural progress or the natural flow of health? If it isn't, maybe I need to tweak what it is that I'm doing, right? Exercise can be a simple example of this. If I look at the way I'm exercising, am I killing myself with some high intensity CrossFit style, just like smash myself into oblivion, right? Or perhaps what is more supportive to my system would be a long walk in silence, right? In nature. And both are exercise, right? How I'm approaching these through, I need to literally just break myself down, or I can engage in something that is nurturing and supportive, okay? And why am I engaging in one versus the other? Well, it's like, okay, I want to support and nourish my body rather than I want to beat myself up. There's so much more to be said here, but I want to keep this somewhat short and not dive too deep into these rabbit holes. But there is a cost to this mindset of I need to fix myself. It influences all of the right things you're doing, right? The food in front of me, right? Am I like scared of how many calories are in there and what ingredients might be, and I'm eating from a state of fear, right? Because if the wrong things come in, my fragile body won't, it's like, versus like looking at this plate of hopefully nourishing food, right? And allowing my state to shift and saying like, I'm eating with enjoyment and I'm eating to nourish my body and support myself and support the natural functioning of health in my body, right? We can go from this restrictive, I've got to eat these things and not eat these things, right? And it's this like controlling versus like putting into my body what my body needs to support this natural flow of health. I don't need to control that. I don't need to push that. I can't be in charge of that, right? But trusting what I'm doing and the way I'm doing it, right, is to support the creation of health in my body rather than fix something that is broken about me. So instead of health becoming this like task that we pursue, we're on this never ending hamster wheel of self-improvement, and it's like the energy behind that is very sympathetic nervous system, right? Very survival oriented rather than this thriving, restorative, regenerative state that we can get access to. And so thinking less about the things that I'm doing, but the state that I'm in while I'm doing them, right? It creates a very different model, is all I want to say. The final piece that I want to kind of apply here is removing the interference, right, is what restores the function, is what leads to health. Rather than, let me fix the problem, it's like, let me see what is in the way of this natural flow of health, okay? Then we can start looking at lifestyle, right? If I'm doom scrolling Instagram for an hour as I lay in bed before I fall asleep at night, is that disrupting my circadian biology? Absolutely it is. We have plenty of research to support that, right? And so removing the interference is like, I'm going to give myself an hour, right, off my phone before I go to bed at night. I'm going to give myself an hour in the morning before I use technology and to get some sunlight in my eyes, right? We have now not tried to fix the problem of my insomnia or my crappy sleep, but we have supported how the system functions, right? My brain needs sunlight at certain times a day to set the body clock, to engage in certain metabolic functions and hormonal functions, right? Like we need those things. If I'm not getting them, my body is going to express some symptoms or prompts that we need to change things. I'm not sleeping well, right? Again, not something that is broken about you that needs fixing, but a response from a interference with the natural process of health in the body. So this removing of interference to restore function is the process to achieve health rather than, eliminate and suppress the symptoms of my dysfunction, of how I'm broken, of what's wrong with me. Just think, just for a moment, sit with the different energy between I'm broken and I need to be fixed. Like, what does that feel like in your body? I know what it feels like I feel like I feel disconnected. I feel that like, oh wait, now I'm in this battle against my body, right? Versus this energy of my body knows how to be healthy, right? It knows how to generate health. What can I tweak to support that process? Not from a place of I'm broken, but from a place of I'm healthy, right? What can support that health? So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to leave you a couple of questions and then we'll wrap this up. I didn't want this to be too long, right? Ask yourself a few of these questions, right? Like, where am I trying to force a fix instead of support a function, right? Where am I telling myself I'm broken rather than I'm in need of support, right? Where can I reduce some of the pressure I put on myself and go with the flow of nature, right? Think of again, the tree isn't broken, right? It doesn't need to be fixed before it grows. Like growth is in its nature. Health is in our nature. We have created a lot of interference to the natural process of health, but becoming healthy, right, does not come from beating back and fixing, right, where I'm broken. It comes from really enhancing, optimizing, supporting the natural function and flow of biology. So consider this idea that you're not broken, right? That you don't need fixing, that the energy behind the actions that you take should come from wanting to support the natural functioning of your body, wanting to support and enhance your own human biology, right? But don't act from the energy of I'm broken. It will hamstring every attempt that you take because the energy behind that action is one that reinforces the idea that I'm broken and need to be fixed.